Welcome to the Daniel Fast. Today I'm doing a savory breakfast and I'll be using one of my favorite cookbooks since becoming vegetarian. I know it says vegan recipes, but it's a good cookbook. I'll be making skillet potatoes and a tofu scramble. And the first thing that you're going to do is chop up your potatoes into nice bite-sized cubes. That's what I'm doing here. The recipe calls for 4 potatoes, but I'm going to use 1 because I'm the only one eating it. The next thing is I'm going to turn up my heat to about medium-high, and I'm going to coat the bottom of my skillet with some oil, add the potatoes, and the one addition I would make is instead of putting the potatoes in and then adding the seasoning, mix everything up in a separate bowl with a little bit of oil and then add it to a greased pan. I find that it distributes the seasonings much better than adding it in after the fact. So right now I'm adding in salt, pepper, paprika, and a sprinkle of rosemary. You can put in whatever seasonings you'd like. This isn't the kind of recipe that you can't modify it to your own taste, but these are the seasonings that I put in for myself. So at this point you season to taste, you stir around a little bit, make sure everything is well covered, and then on that medium-high heat you cover it with, and this is really important, cover it with a lid and just let it cook until it starts to get nice and toasted brown on the outside. So while that cooks, we're going to make the tofu scramble. I've made this once before, but this is a recipe from this cookbook. So this recipe requires bell pepper, which you're going to chop up. It also requires onion, which I didn't have, but I would recommend you use. I think it would enhance the flavor. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take a block of tofu, usually 14 to 16 ounces, and you're going to chop it lengthwise, crosswise, the way that I just did. And this is how I press my tofu. I actually got this hamburger press from Dollar Tree, and it has become my tofu press. So I'm pressing each of the pieces, getting out as much of the liquid as I can. It does a pretty good job. I wasn't about to buy a tofu press, but found that this worked, as you can see, pretty well. So once you press each of the pieces, you're going to remove it, and you're going to place it in a separate bowl, and you can also crumble it because you'll need to crumble the tofu as well. It does a pretty good job. The next thing is you're going to add the seasonings for your tofu scramble. So that's nutritional yeast, turmeric, some water. I'm adding soy sauce right now, and then you mix it till all of that is well combined. And so that's all you need for the tofu scramble. So we're just going to check on our potatoes. You can see now that it's well toasted on the outside, which is what you want, and at this point about 8 to 10 minutes or so, you're going to lower the heat and it's going to cook the rest of the way, another say about 8 to 10 minutes. And now we're going to add our bell pepper, and if you have onion, add your onion here as well and saute that until it's tender and the onions are slightly translucent. You're then going to add in your crumbled tofu. Oh, and side note, make sure you use firm tofu. Soft tofu will not work, silken will not work. You need firm tofu for this recipe. So you're going to saute your vegetables and your tofu together. This doesn't need to cook very long. Remember, it's not an egg, but it does have a very eggy texture and look. And then you're going to add your sauce. Now the recipe says you should only use a couple of tablespoons. I found that you need to use all for the flavor. Tofu is very bland, so you really need to add, I think, the entire amount of sauce to get the right flavor. And I actually found that it tastes better the next day after it's been sitting in the sauce for a little bit. I use the full portion recipe, so these are 4 servings. So it definitely is really good if you want to have breakfast today, breakfast tomorrow. It works if you want a quick breakfast. So there are my potatoes. Everything came together in about, I'd say 30 minutes, a little bit less. So it makes a pretty good breakfast, I think, and it's a nice change from the oatmeal and the hot cereal or the smoothies of the day. I hope you give this recipe a try. See you on the next one. Bye.